It's a brand new year, and what better topic to talk about at this time than about buying a new bike? So the topic that I received was originally about buying a bike in Singapore, but since there are an international audience on my channel, I believe I'm going to minimize the references to the processes in Singapore at the end. So, when buying a new bike, you have two options. Either you go with a brand new one, or you can take a chance and buy a used bike. Of course, when you buy a new bike, which I recommend if, for example, you are a new rider and you have yet to learn about the intricacies of checking whether a bike that you are buying is good or not, or serviceable, then I would say go with a new bike. It is a lot of it's less of a hassle, and of course defects do happen on new bikes, but they are a lot less. The other option is if you choose to buy a used bike, but used bikes are a 50-50 chance most of the time. You can have bikes that are totally out of whack, or you can have extremely well modded, perfectly serviceable bikes that taken care very well of. And there are some people that have never bought a brand new bike in their lives, shifting from used bike to used bike as the years go by, and that's perfectly fine. But there are some things to take into consideration when you are buying a used bike. For example, it depends on how many owners the bike used to have. The lesser the number of ex-owners a used bike has, increases the chance that the bike that you are buying is serviceable. Because if you are buying from a guy that is the first owner of the bike, it's more likely that he had taken good care of it, since, I mean, to him it's brand new. Now, my advice when making a purchase of a new bike after you have selected the particular make and model that you really want is that when you do go and pick it up, or at the very least make a selection of which particular bike of that model at your dealer, is to always bring along a friend or a loved one or a family member, at least somebody who's there to stop you. Because if you have ever bought a bike or a vehicle before, pretty much anything, we ourselves as the buyers are very prone to impulse purchases. When we really want it, we get so excited that we do not notice the defects in the bike that we want to buy. So a third perspective is always a very good thing to have when making this sort of purchases. So the first thing that you want to look out for when you buy a bike is take a step back and check the overall appearance of the bike. Does it look clean, well maintained off? How does it feel? Do you think it is rough? You know, a bike that looks like crap is most likely going to be crap when you actually get it. Now, the first thing that after that is the frame. The frame is very important. This is your biggest safety concern. The part where you are going to want to look out for is most likely over here, the neck. People crash and sometimes this gets bent, so when you are looking for the frame damage, you should check the entire frame as much as possible. Make sure there are no cracks or any bends. If you see a crack or bend, you will is a usual telltale sign that there's a silver crack there on a black frame, so it's quite obvious. Another thing you might want to check out for is the fork alignment and the bearing. So how do you go about it? For me, I would say put it up on a main stand if the bike has one. If not, you have to jack it up. After that, what you need to do is you need to grip the handlebars and give it a little wiggle. So when the front wheel is raised up and you wiggle this, it should not, the front wheel should not freely move left to right. Now the next one is, since the bike is already up, check for leaks. The bottom of the engine should not be leaking any oil. You should not see petrol leaking out. You should not be smelling oil or petrol from within an arm's length distance. So after you're done with all these preliminary checks, ask for a test ride. A test ride is very important. It speaks a lot for the condition of the bike itself. The first thing you'll notice when you are on a test ride is whether the bike pulls to a side or not. All you need to do is drive the thing straight at more than 20 kilometers per hour, and if the bike is fine, it should not pull to the left or the right if you hold it by the bar ends lightly like this. And when you're holding the bars, it should not lean one side or the other. Bars that bend to one end or the other indicates a bent handlebar, and you should either ask for a discount so that you can replace the bars or outright refuse this particular bike. Next thing you want to check is the brakes. Braking is very important. It is pretty much what is going to save your life. So ensuring that the brakes are in perfect functioning order is very important. It's pretty simple. You just need to hold it and make sure it does not move. Test both the front and the rear brakes separately. Ensure that it's fine. Now, before you had gone on the test ride, you might also want to ask the dealer to not start a bike. You want to test it on a cold start. Alright? Because usually old vehicles, they may take some pumping to start. If it turns out that on a cold start it is really hard to start, when I mean cold start, it means it should not be turned on at least for a few hours before you do this test. If the bike fails to start with the e-starter after repeated tries, it is very likely that there may be an issue with the carburetor if it's a carburetor bike. Usually a fuel injector bike does not have this problem, but sometimes it does, which will require retuning, and this is something you must test before you purchase the bike. Now after all these tests are done, go ahead, accept it. Oh man, it's seriously fucking cold. Anyway, every country has different processes for buying a motorcycle, so while it is a good thing that most dealers will know how to handle the paperwork for you, it is also a good idea to read up on the process of buying a motorcycle wherever you come from. Personally, I hate the winter periods the most, the period between December to February, because it rains almost every single day and it's really annoying, and it's really cold to ride in this kind of weather. So I may not have been exactly right. I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to the technical aspects of motorcycles, but if you ever buy a new motorcycle, do keep in mind what I just said on how to check for defects. There may be better ways to check for defects if you ask more experienced riders and mechanics, but it's a start. I personally will be doing checks when I buy my new DRZ 400 SM soon, because as you know, I'm going to buy it used, since I'm not going to keep it for long, maybe a year or so, get used to it, you know, learn how to use a supermotor. And knowing what DRZ riders are like, it is most likely that any used bike I'm gonna be encountering in the dealership is gonna be trashed at some point in its life, so there may or may not be some defects here and there that I have to find out. So in Singapore, usually you have to also keep in mind, this is for my Singaporean viewers, that especially if you have never bought a motorcycle before, you need to make sure that you have enough money for COE, and as of this video, it's about 6,000 plus Sing dollars, and then you need insurance. Usually for first time riders, it's about $1,000, and of course the price of the machine itself, usually the dealer will tell you the price in its entirety to you, so you do not have to worry about it. But there's just some things to keep in mind. So you have any comments, or you would like to pick the next topic for my next vlog, I think about 2 weeks later or next week, please leave them in the comments below, and I will use them in my next video, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.